Viewer discretion is advised.
All right. Lucy, what is our
My mouth is all of a
background?
sudden dry just out of jealousy.
It should be. Lucy, what is our background and maybe psych for boy band crimes?
A boy band is a vocal group consisting of young male singers, usually in their teens or 20s at the time of formation.
Conception,
Singing love songs marketed towards young women.
Yeah.
Many boy bands dance as well, giving highly choreographed performances. These groups are often created by talent managers or record producers who hold auditions and just kind of slap groups together based on their talent.
You're going to be the blonde one. You're going to be the bad boy. You're going to be
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Ooh.
Also, what was that show on MTV where
Making the band.
Yep.
Making the Band?
Where-
Is that where Angel, what's his name, came
Yep.
from?
Ashley Angel. We will get to
Ashley
it.
Angel.
And
I
also,
really liked him.
My-
I bought his CD.
Mom really liked him because she was just coming out of her hysterectomy and was recovering at home and was on a lot of pain medication.
Oh, she
Yep.
watched that whole series.
And she was
Yep.
so loopy. My mom does not watch reality TV unless it's
No.
Amazing Race. And
Oh, she was way into Amazing Race.
she's
She was.
Still loves-
This I remember.
loved Amazing Race and loopy on pain meds loved Making the Band and would like regularly cry on behalf of Ashley Angel because he was homesick. And she was so just empathetic. She was
Let him
just
see his mom.
He's so sweet, though. He was the tender-hearted
Yeah.
cherub of
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
Again, we'll get
Yes.
to it. Okay. Boy bands are carefully managed in terms of their attire, promotional materials, and music videos. Being trendy is a cornerstone of boy bands, so they are constantly having to update their looks and musical style. Each member of the group will generally have a persona, like the cherubic blonde one, the sweet one, the bad boy, the aloof one with piercing eyes, and the one with the great personality,
My cousins.
the fatone.
Oh, God.
I liked him. He was my favorite. No, third favorite, but whatever.
I always went for the blonde ones.
Remember Howie?
Yeah.
I wasn't a Howie.
No.
No.
I liked AJ.
Yeah. AJ was like the older brother one.
Yeah,
I feel
AJ
like
was
AJ
like
was
the,
just on Dancing with the Stars.
Ugh. I need to
think.
know if this is true. So this pigeonholing is a unique feature of boy bands and also girl groups and also just like society at large. But in terms of like boy bands as being set apart from other musical groups,
Sure.
there's like that persona feature. They rarely write their own music and in recent years have benefited from the technology of autotune.
Oh, you don't say.
It
You don't
isn't.
say. I don't know.
Why are you naturally good at autotune?
Yeah. I just have that. I have the pipes, the fake pipes.
No, that's weird. That's eerie. But I have to move on.
Yeah, that's fine.
No say.
Oh,
Got to get
okay.
my boat bones. Goat bones.
You go bones.
The boat goes.
The boat goes.
Your boat goes.
So K-pop is short for Korean popular music and is a genre of music originating in South Korea, not to be confused with North Korea. This has
Very
nothing
different
to do
North
with North
Korea has yet to hit the pop music scene, but
They haven't embraced
it could
it
happen.
yet.
They also are likely not listening to this podcast.
No.
No, but just to be clear, we're talking about Korea, but like
South
not
Korea.
North
Right.
Korea. So this music has a million different influences from R&B, gospel, jazz, hip hop, Caribbean dance hall,
Wow.
salsa, folk, country, electronic dance, and classical music, in addition to traditional Korean music. So this genre, as far as like influences, is all over the fucking place.
They're just like, whatever, we're going to take what works.
We're going to try it. Try it all.
You're gonna take what
Light it
works,
up like
basically.
dynamite.
Yes,
Oh.
it's smooth like butter. So this music is described as pop on crack, or it's very optimistic. It's fun. It's energetic. It's also really hard to describe if you've never heard it. So here is how NPR puts it.
Amazing. Can't
K-pop,
wait for this.
K-pop is, quote, a maximalist dreamland full of color, high concept performances and videos, a plethora of performers, and unrivaled choreography. If Top 10 in America wanted solo singers so soft every breath was caught on mic over a mid-tempo chorus, a la Billie Eilish, that was my editorializing.
Okay.
K-pop appeared to offer a genreless alternative. Constant stimulation, euphoria delivered in 8 to 10 melodies, and fantastical harmonies in a single track.
So, like, basically, if, like, Backstreet Boys merged with, like, the board game Candyland.
Every genre
Yes.
in existence.
That is a wonderful...
Thank you.
That's a wonderful way to put it.
Yeah, totally.
So while I was writing my notes, I was watching a Netflix episode of the show Explained, if you've ever heard of it. It's like short little 20-minute episodes of just various topics explained by professionals
I've never
and
heard
experts
of that,
and blah, blah, blah.
and it sounds amazing, and I'm going to start
so
watching that.
Good. So like I said, very short episodes. There's like billionaires and the female orgasm and cryptocurrency.
Well,
and,
I need that explained for sure.
right. And
The
one
orgasm.
of these I know what you meant.
I
One
get
of these
Bitcoin.
episodes
I don't get my bits.
One of these episodes is on K-pop. So
Cool.
a lot of my notes are from this episode. Like kind of like what Kenyon alluded to, there's quite a bit of overlap between how K-pop operates as a system and how boy bands in the U.S. evolved and sort of therefore devolved.
In the
yeah,
90s,
like boy band
yeah.
boot camp
Yeah.
for K-pop is next level.
Well, like the origin of boy bands, it all evolved around like the mid 90s also.
And just the like curated personas and image.
The matching outfits.
Yeah.
We'll get to
I'm
all
sure
of
we
this.
will. Yeah.
So if you're interested in this episode of Explained, it aired in season 1. It's like the 5th or 6th episode. It's very
Cool.
interesting.
I'm totally going to check that out. That
Highly
series sounds
recommend
awesome.
the whole series. Yeah. Just short little snippets. It's very consumable. Okay. So back in 1992, a new band called Saoteji and Boys performed on a nationally broadcast TV show in South Korea. But the judges didn't think there was enough melody and gave them poor reviews, actually the lowest reviews of all of the people performing in that specific episode, because it was so drastically unfamiliar to the audience.
Oh, it was like
Okay.
too new.
Too poppy,
was-
not enough ballad.
Well, and I think that the ascension from what that culture was used to compared to what Saoteji brought was like, what the fuck?
Well, I know we've
can't-
mentioned this
I
a
can't
million
even
times.
enjoy this. Like,
But
it's so, yeah.
It's like the psychology behind why people with anxiety rewatch the same shows, like The Office, over and over again. It's like that predictability, and then people get really thrown off when something like totally new comes in. I mean, I know that my anxiety disorder is why I resist like most new trends until it's already been around long enough to just seep into everything around me, and then
And
I'm
then
like,
you're all about
okay,
it.
I'll get on TikTok.
Yeah. But I think
we
that's
all
also just
saw that one coming.
that's also just human nature, you know. That's not just like people with anxiety or whatever. It's just human nature. And when you have a country like Korea, which is so entrenched in tradition and like doing as your elders have done, it was a lot.
It was a big left turn.
Yeah,
It was a leap. So hit songs before this performance were known as quote unquote healthy songs. So these were songs and styles essentially imposed by the government.
Ooh, okay.
It was
Interesting.
heavily censored. I would say not as censored as, for example, North Korea, obviously, or even
Right.
China, but they were designated by they were approved by the government on some level before they were put on like one of 3 sanctioned TV channels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these songs and styles, like I said, were imposed by the government. There were a lot of musical variety shows on TV, showing either patriotic music or what they called safe music. So it was extremely like G-rated.
Got it.
Okay. Like folk songs or like...
Yeah, like probably folk songs would be more like patriotic, but like the safe music would be like, oh, I love this girl, but I can't touch her. You know,
palatable, traditional,
very,
gentle
very
music.
1950s sock hop.
Yeah,
very
vibes.
Conservative.
Conservative. That's
Yep.
Okay.
So Saoteji signaled a massive change. They wore really odd Western-style clothing. They had lots of synchronized, energetic dancing. They were dramatically different. And if you watch this performance of them on that particular show in 1992, I guess.
Can't wait.
It was 2. Then they performed. But it's like you can see the shock on the judges' faces, and you can also just like tell how fucking weird this whole thing was. It's very bizarre.
I love it.
So Saoteji was described accurately, in my opinion, as the Korean New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
This group introduced American hip-hop fashion to Korea, so such as baggy clothing, skiing outfits, and like full-ass winter mittens.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So like
They look like oven mitts.
Like Seth Green Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah.
Ensemble.
Yeah, like 80s ski suits that became just leisure wear fashion.
I love it.
It was like
That's
barely
amazing.
leisure wear.
Well,
it was like very much sports wear. It was like
it was barely leisure wear in the 80s either, but people fucking went for it.
I gotta put some pictures of the mittens on the drive because they're like oven mitts.
Yeah.
And they're just doing all their routines with these big ass like fucking mittens.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I
It's
love
so
it.
bizarre.
Society, like any place, any time, is so fucking bizarre. And we
I
will
love
look back
it.
on now and be like,
Oh.
what the fuck were we thinking?
We went back to middle parts.
I'll take off my cat ears now.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I was trying to differentiate, but you know what? It's what it's. Okay, so their mittens. Also, their songs were made up of controversial lyrics, disrespecting older generations, which was not super common. So, like, lyrics like, and I'm paraphrasing, but like, our parents made these cages and now we're living in these cages. Like, you know, stuff like that.
Total. A little angsty. A little bit of
Angsty, a little edgy.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these were perceived as going against traditional Korean customs. And as much as the adults didn't like it, the kids were like kind of into it.
Yeah.
Particularly like the fashion and that shocking cultural element. They were like, oh yeah, this
Teenagers
is off my
gonna
parents.
teen.
Yeah. Youth
Teen's gonna
rebellion
teen.
defies like all culture. It just always fucking happens.
It is a form of development.
It's culture is what it is. So a record executive and producer at the time, Lee Soo-man, nailed it, saw this new K-pop style as the next big export, or as he called it, a cultural commodity. So he was like very much ahead of his time. This is in the mid-90s.
Wow.
His entertainment company called SM Entertainment created the boy band HOT or Hot, and this was modeled after oh God, I can never remember how to pronounce this. Saoteji. Saoteji. There are lots of similarities between these groups, including their unique style choices, like the fucking mittens.
Cute.
Choreography was also a really big thing. So basically, Soman he produced a formula for what was to be the future of K-pop groups. He there's a specific formula, and he was at the advent of sad formula.
He was the blimp master.
Right.
He was the blimp master.
Mm-hmm.
So in the mid
Backstreet
1990s, Backstreet Blimps.
All right.
All right. In the mid 90s, Asia experienced a big economic drop, and South Korea decided that Lee So-man was right. They could use their music and arts culture as a global commodity.
Mm-hmm.
So the Korean government, which had formerly essentially censored modern pop music, was now investing a full 1% of their national budget to promoting
I love it.
their music.
Whoa.
Their pop music.
Wild.
I mean, the French government promotes French pop music and has like all kinds of rules for like how many, what percentage of songs played on the radio in France have to be like actually from France and in French.
Yeah.
So like a lot of Canadian songs like slip in, but like as long as they're like in the French language, because they didn't want everything to be taken over by like English pop music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think that was
I like
super
it.
smart. And I feel like in the mid 90s especially, this was very like progressive thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And also from a traditional Korean standpoint, where just a few years earlier they were actively censoring
Yeah,
this
it's a big
kind of
turnaround.
music. And now they're
Yeah.
just like, oh, fuck yeah, we got to make some money.
This could
Yeah,
work.
it's a leap forward. Well,
Yeah.
money moves the world.
Well, comparison to the leap forward might not be totally
Yeah.
appropriate. but-
Fuck it. Look at ABBA.
Yeah.
Was basically what they were saying.
Exactly.
Oh, we'll get to ABBA, actually.
Is ABBA the original K-pop band?
We'll get to it, honey.
Sway pop.
Okay.
Sway pop.
Sway pop. Okay, so the Korean government is investing 1% of their national budget to promoting this K-pop music. One of the people in charge of one of the firms responsible for this was a former member of Saotaji and Boys, and they created much of the withstanding elements of today's K-pop music.
Nice.
So I guess at this time, like mid-late 90s, we weren't using the term K-pop. We're kind of just using like various terms of music originating in Korea, but it
Right.
wasn't its own genre yet.
Yeah, I mean, they started it. There was
Yeah.
a clear
There's a-
beginning.
It's a growth period.
Let's start
Cool.
at the very beginning.
So that ended up being like a $5 billion global industry, $1 billion global industry. And
Yeah.
actually probably more now because that number
Yeah.
was from the Explained episode, which was released in 2018. So I'm sure it's more than that.
Way more. Now it's probably that much per year.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think it was annual, but yeah. Within Korea, K-pop groups are called idol groups. IDOL, not like
Okay.
idol.
Yeah.
An entertainment company scouts for individuals with singing and dancing talents and basically throws them together to form an extremely polished performance troupe. So what was that show on MTV that your mom liked?
Making the
Kenyon?
band.
Making the band.
When my mom had her hysterectomy and was looped on pain meds following
it,
her
baby.
surgery,
She loved making the
She
band.
loved
that.
making the band and literally was brought to actual tears, like sobbing, was so upset because Ashley Angel was homesick for Hawaii. And she was like, he just wants his mom.
I
Oh,
loved Ashley Angel. I
God.
bought his CD,
Yeah.
his
my
solo,
mom-
his solo
And
album.
I remember, I think I was in like 8th grade and I just was like, wow, I don't know.
What is happening?
I don't know what my mom is going through, but I'm going to go into
It's
my
a
room.
lot.
It's something. It's
Yeah.
something.
With something else.
Amazing.
And then she like, healed and went off the pain meds and like,
healed.
didn't care about fucking, what was that? The
Ashley Angel.
O-Town.
O-Town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
know.
So this is basically an off-camera
Making the band.
Making the band, yeah.
I love it.
So this process can take years, and we've also discussed this process in our Motown Murders episode. So it's like that factory system of scouting people with talent, various talents.
Who also are really attractive.
Yep.
Who also are attractive, fitting them together in a way that makes sense so that their chemistry vibes, and then like, here's a band. There you go.
And sometimes that chemistry is short-lived, and we will get to it.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Oh dear.
So, in terms of like how these bands are made up, there are typically at least 5 members, and they each play a specific role. So we have the leader, the singer, basically the only one who can like sing really well. The dance. Also the singer will come with like a sub singer, like the one who can sing the second best.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we have the dancer, also comes with the one who can like dance the second best. The rapper, the youngest one, which in Korea is called the maknae, and the oldest one, which is called the matnae. The center, which is always the one in the middle,
Okay.
which is basically the Amanda, the one with the weird hair.
Yep.
The visual, so like the most attractive one, the Kenyan, and the all-rounders, plural, maybe the ones who can like kind of do it all. So it's just very bizarre. Just like
So there's some overlap in
fill
the
a
role.
role.
Oh,
because
there's
it's
totally
yeah.
overlap.
Yeah.
There's totally overlap, but like in general, there has to be at least one to fulfill each or most of these roles, you know.
Whereas like for boy bands, the roles are a little bit different. There's like
The smoke show.
like the jock,
The goofy
heartthrob,
one.
Yeah.
exactly. The boy next door.
It's kind of the same thing, except like these are a little bit more specific. And I also don't think that there's much of an illusion between like K-pop fans and who these K-pop stars sort of like represent. Like I think they understand that these guys or girls are fulfilling specific roles. That doesn't really diminish the magic.
Well,
you know
usually
what I mean?
fans are way more like with it than the industry will give them credit for. You know?
think so. Yeah.
Like they know what they're consuming.
Yeah. Also, these members have to be very clean, meaning they shouldn't have any scandals in their past.
We'll get to that.
There's no like trashing hotel rooms.
No. And also in terms of their music, like lyrics and stuff, love is the biggest topic. So they are never or should be never allowed, actually allowed to disclose a romantic relationship publicly. Because there's, especially with the boy bands, they have to be publicly available to any of their fans. Like they have a chance with them.
Right. Which totally worked for 6th grade me and Nick Carter.
1000%.
Yeah.
And O-Tow.
Was Nick Carter the get? Was it?
That was
He's the Justin Timberlake of the Backstreet Boys.
Right.
But he was
Or
the
so
gay
they
one?
thought. No. That's Lance Bass.
He was the blonde lead
Lance
one.
Bass. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also, congratulations to Lance Bass and his partner. They just welcomed their first baby.
They had twins.
Babies. Yeah, you're right. Twins. Fraternal boy-girl twins. Thank you, TikTok. It's the only reason I know that.
Oh.
Yeah. Good job.
Good for you, Lance.
We did it.
We did it.
We
You're welcome,
did it.
Lance.
My dreams are crushed, but congrats or whatever. Okay. So most K-pop bands nowadays are acronyms, so they don't need to be translated between different languages, which is another component of their globalization strategy.
Oh.
So if you notice, so we started with, I have to scroll back up to my how to pronounce this because I'm a horrible person. Scroll back up to the Seotaiji group, which is spelled Seotaiji, which is the full name of one of their members.
Yep.
So Seotaiji, it's it's not.
It's
It
their
doesn't.
name.
It doesn't roll off the tongue for a lot of people who aren't familiar with Korean names. So now you have bands like BTS that really
Bind,
doesn't
torture, sing.
So here's what my boyfriend Britannica has to say. Punk, also called punk rock, is an aggressive form of rock music that coalesced into an international, though predominantly Anglo-American movement between 1975 and 1980, roughly. Often politicized and full of vital energy beneath a sarcastic, hostile facade, punk spread as an ideology and as an aesthetic approach, becoming an archetype of teen rebellion and alienation.
The movement is just 5 years?
Yeah, punk is dead, didn't you hear?
Well, I know, but that just seems so short. Don't you think? That surprises me.
It was a bright star that burnt out kind of quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love etymology and entomology.
Okay.
But here's some etymology. The word punk was first used around 1575. But at the time, its meaning what was kind of defined as a quote-unquote prostitute.
Sex worker, got
Sex worker. Other definitions over time have included a young, inexperienced person, usually a man, usually a blonde man.
Don't trust him.
Nonsense or foolishness. A preparation as of a stick of coated wood that burns slowly and is used to ignite fuses, especially of fireworks.
Weird, never heard of that. Cool.
Could be used to just say that something's inferior, something is of poor health. And of course, punk rock, a punk rock musician or someone who affects punk style.
My great-grandma, her family nickname instead of grandma or whatever was Punka.
Oh,
Don't know where it came from or
that's
why.
cute.
Sounds Norwegian.
It does.
So the leap from, I don't know, a sex worker into a music term happened around 1970 and probably stemmed from the slang definition of punk as a young man used as a sexual partner by another man in a prison.
Okay. Didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Interesting etymology.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So in the mid-1960s, there were some garage rock bands. The one that I recognized was Question Mark and the Mysterians.
Oh, I did not
96 Tears. 96 Tears. You've heard that song.
Oh.
Okay.
That's
I just
Question
never
Mark and
remember the
Mysterians.
name of anyone or anything.
That's
me
okay.
either.
So these garage rock bands kind of blended with more hard rock, angsty sounds like those of the New York Dolls. By 1975, punk described the simple literary music scene around clubs like CBGB in New York City. In 1976, the Ramones released their first album, which, quote, became the blueprint for punk, guitar as white noise, drums as texture, and vocals as hostile slogans.
And just a lot of people who literally did not know how to play their instruments.
Yeah.
A few that did.
Well, the white
Many
noise.
that did not.
The white noise thing. There's not
It wasn't the
Melodic.
primary focus.
it wasn't polished. Yeah. Punk was a response to the pastoral hippie culture of the 1960s, concerned more with dirty urban anger. The term leapt over the pond to the UK, where the Sex Pistols emerged. And here's a fun fact that I believe we will be touching on in Kenyon's case. That band was assembled by a guy who owned a fetishist store in London that was just called Sex.
Love.
We will be getting to it.
That story alone is really bizarre and cool. So here's a little background of British punk, once again from my lover, ironically, Britannica, British punk. Announced by their manifesto, the single Anarchy in the UK, the Sex Pistols established punk as a national style that combined confrontational fashions with sped-up hard rock and elusive, socially aware lyrics that addressed the reduced expectations of 1970s teens. Armed with a critique of the music industry and consumerism, early British punk spawned a resurgence of interest in rock, mirroring social upheaval with a series of visionary songs couched in black humor. Groups such as the Buzzcocks, The Clash, and Susie and the Banshees scored hits in like 1977, 1978. Anarchist, decentralizing, and libertarian, UK punk was drawn into the polarized politics of British society, and by 1979 had self-destructed as a pop style.
Yeah, very,
like I
very
said,
quick.
Burned bright.
Right. But an enduring legacy. I mean, I still listen to some of these bands.
Oh, the
Mainly
legacy.
just The Clash, if I'm being really honest.
The legacy
Because they're more
is,
melodic than the others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of legacy, though.
Yeah.
Post-punk groups such as Public Image Limited and Joy Division replaced punk's worldliness with inner concerns, matching rock with the technological rhythms of disco. A little bit more catchy, dare I say.
Palatable.
Yeah.
Harmonious.
Drinkable.
Not migraine-inducing.
Nevertheless, punk's influence could be seen throughout British society, notably in mass media shock tactics, the confrontational strategies of environmentalists, and the proliferation of independent record labels.
And collage art.
Collage art, absolutely.
Spiked belts.
We'll get to all of this.
Fashion.
In the U.S., the punk scene was big in Seattle, San Francisco, where the Dead Kennedys were from, and Los Angeles, where Black Flag was from. In the late 70s, though, disco was really taking over, and it kind of drove the punk scene underground, resulting in hardcore punk, which is what you guys are referring to, the super fast-paced, frenetic, blah, blah, blah. That's hardcore punk. That's not like the original punk.
Okay.
Sure.
Hardcore punk flourished in the early to mid 80s. Nirvana showed up in 1991, bringing in the grunge scene, which was effectively Gen X's punk.
Right. It's punk music, but like more flannel and less leather.
More like mellow, kind
Yeah.
of.
Very Gen X.
Very Gen X.
Super Gen X.
Punk also heavily influenced 80s new wave and even synth pop. So like honestly, when I said punk was really just from like 1975 to 1980, that's like
That was like classic.
the pure
Pure punk.
the pure classic punk. That was an accident, but it worked. According to How Stuff Works, quote, Sid Vicious's death in 1979 is still often considered the day that punk died.
And we've covered Sid Vicious.
We covered him recently. What was
Yeah,
that
we
topic?
did. It was the like celebrity whatever crimes. Groupie crimes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. For some, Green Day's ascension to the top of the pop charts with Dookie 15 years later was like the music industry kicking a dead dog, although
Okay, harsh.
That
love
album is
Green
amazing.
Day.
Yeah, love Green Day. Have you guys, like yesterday I saw a meme of somebody with a giant tattoo on their forearm, like their entire forearm, and it's just their Ticketmaster concert ticket to a Green Day concert in like 2009.
Oh, honey, no. I've got questionable tattoos.
2009?
I don't know.
It's
maybe
a little late.
2006. I don't know.
I mean, they're still
early
touring.
2000s. Yeah.
I've seen the Broadway show American Idiot. Okay.
Oh, nice. I
actually
think
quite
I
good.
own all of Green Day's albums. I'm
Their
love
whole
Green Day.
discography.
Right.
Amanda and I went to Green Day with Blink 182 in
We
concert
did.
at the Target Center. That was a fucking fantastic show.
Nice. And you got your tattoo covered up, or
Yeah.
Oh,
My
I did not understand the joke. I was like, what? Tattoo? Oh,
didn't
the
my
ticket.
dad
Got
come
it.
with us? Didn't he fully attend the concert with us?
I don't think so. I think he dropped us off and picked us up, but I don't think he was there unless I really blocked that out.
Well, he would have faded into the
he would have been
background.
quiet.
That was Operation Tiddlywinks.
Yep. We made shirts and everything. Go fucking figure.
Yep, that sounds like us.
So punk, of course, is more than just music. When we think about punk as an aesthetic, we think of mohawks and studded leather jackets, chains, and eyeliner. Other fashion choices include Doc Martens boots, like combat boots,
I have
like
those.
military kind of boots also. Deliberately offensive T-shirts, yeah, check. Brightly colored hair, tattoos, probably done by your friend's friend at a party.
Yeah,
Stick and
like
pokes.
unprofesh tattoos.
Stick and
Yeah.
pokes.
Yeah.
I still
get
need to get one that just
tetanus
says,
tattoos.
I want to get one that just says, fuck you under my right tit as a stick and poke.
Is
you
it
can
poke
just-
and stick?
Stick and poke.
So you
That
can
was
just
poke and stick.
lift up the tit.
To tell you all you need to know.
I found a mosquito bite mysteriously under my small boob this morning.
Oof, that's rough.
How'd it get in there?
I do not know. I don't want to think about it. And also like body modification. Lots of piercings. Clothing was also not as engendered and binary. So like dudes wore tight jeans, fishnets, skirts, and eyeliner. And then the gals maybe shaved their heads and wore men's shirts, jackets, and combat boots, for example. This specific genre of music and like culture was actually quite feminist. There were a lot of female punk musicians, and people generally respected the women in the scene. It was progressive. Punk subculture is largely characterized by anti-establishment views, the promotion of individual freedom, and DIY ethics. The punk ethos is primarily made up of beliefs such as nonconformity, anti-authoritarianism, anti-corporatism, anti-consumerist, anti-corporate greed, direct action, and not quote-unquote selling out. There are lots of zines. There's lots of satire. Philosophically speaking, music journalist John Savage describes the subculture as a, quote, bricolage, so like a collage kind of almost every
That's all I could hear.
bricolage of almost every previous youth culture in the Western world since World War II, quote, stuck together with safety pins.
Lots of safety pins.
I loved that description. Quote, the music and culture was generated by people on the margins, and being a punk became a badge of honor, says Mark Anderson, punk historian and author of We Are the Clash, Reagan, Thatcher, and the Last Stand of a Band That Mattered. It's a lot packed into that title.
Lots of well, yeah, it makes sense that they were so like political and disillusioned because they were like,
Reagan.
yeah,
Thatcher.
living through this long and overwhelming wave of like new conservatism that was basically just like fuck poor people.
It was a response, for sure. Quote, it had some specific musical or fashion or hairstyle signifiers, but I think what is underneath all of that and what is really the substance is a challenging and creative spirit. Joey Ramone said in a 1976 Rolling Stone interview that his band formed around a mutual feeling of exile. I hate this part, especially in their romantic pursuit of women. Quote, they always wanted to go with the guys who had Corvettes, so we had nothing to do but climb on rooftops and sniff glue.
Okay. I never thought about punk music even being even remotely romantic or romantic related. It felt like a genre of music that like doesn't talk about romance that much.
I mean, this is just one quote from one musician, but I don't like this incel version of the birth of punk. But
yeah,
just a quote from Joey Ramone, it's got a little bit of weight. But
yeah, maybe they just meant like, you know,
well,
we
they
felt
were
like outsiders. We weren't the popular kids.
That's exactly what he said. But I think the way he said it was like, oh, can't get the hot girls, gonna go sniff glue and start a band. It's like, oh, okay.
Which is also probably true, but less appealing.
Yeah. So speaking of, it should be clarified that punk does not inherently endorse or support fascism or neo-Nazis. There's a lot of like fashion overlap, but I'll kind of get to it.
This is so from odd.
Oh, it's the line is
it's like the shaved heads, the combat boots, Basically,
like the SLC punk thing where like some of the shaved head people were like neo-Nazis.
We kind of get into it in my case, like touch on it a little bit, but not a ton. But like Lucy mentioned a little bit earlier, a lot of like intentionally shocking or what did you say, offensive t-shirts, like swastikas were super prevalent in the punk scene, even though a lot of them considered themselves like anti-fascist.
it was just for shock value initially, but I think that opened the door for a lot of
really
neo-Nazis into the scene. Anyway, I'll just read this next part. So this is from a 2018 GQ article. Every hardcore band you loved in the 80s and beyond, from Black Flag to Minutemen to Fugazi, had one unfortunate thing in common. Nazi skinheads occasionally stormed their concerts, stomped their fans, and gave Hitler salutes in lieu of applauding, and generally turned a communal experience into one full of hatred and conflict.
God.
Yeah, it's scary. And then they have like mosh pits too, and you're like,
oh, we'll get to shit that went down in mosh pits.
Okay. Or pogoing is how it started.
Ugh.
It started just like kind of throwing people sort of back and forth in like kind of a fun way, and then like punching came in.
Yeah, I like a safe mosh pit, a gentle mosh.
I don't know.
A mosh and nosh. I've been in a gentle mosh pit. It was really fun, but like a serious one, no thanks.
I saw our friend who was in like a hardcore screamo band when we were in college, and I went to one of his shows, and I was being supportive, and I was right up by the stage, and I got punched in the back and went home.
Yeah, I was at like a ska concert with a friend, and we were in a mosh pit, and it was really fun.
That is a gentle
your
mosh.
Yeah, and I was also like 16. So.
No mosh.
The last time
no mosh.
moved.
15, maybe.
So back to kind of what Kenyon was saying, I think because Elvis was never taught formally, and he also couldn't read music, he just memorized stuff really quickly.
Right.
Plus, because of racist reasons, like his music was really heavily influenced by like black gospel music and like jazz, R&B, that traditionally black sounds.
Well, he was like the bridge he was like the white guy that took black music and cultural influences into the white mainstream.
Correct. Also, given the neighborhoods that he lived in were predominantly black, I think that on the surface, people looked down on him. They're just like, oh, it's just taking all this black culture. Like, where is this going to go? He was frequently told that he sucked. And the apparent motivations behind the labels that were interested in him were pretty gross. According to the Sun receptionist, the one that wrote the note, she says, over and over, I remember Sam saying, if I could find a white man, this is a quote, remember, if I could find a white man who had the Negro sound and the Negro feel, I could make $1 billion.
Yep. I mean,
Well, he's not wrong.
yeah, we can't like sit here and deny that Elvis's career was like a form of cultural appropriation and a white accessible like version of, you know, the black sound.
That's 100% what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
So in
also,
the end,
like, not alone. First, but of many. Of many.
I think first-ish, and also just by far the most famous first one. In the end, Elvis's sound, style, whiteness, and also the emotion that he could tap into in his music, which I'm certain drew from that choir gospel, very
Upbringing,
emotional
influence.
music. All of this shaped up to commercial success. In 1956, RCA released Elvis's self-titled debut album, and it pretty much went down in history as defining the evolving sound of rock and roll. 3 of the songs were covers of black artists, Little Richard, Ray Charles, and the Drifters.
Ever heard of him?
Ever heard of them? A quote from critic Robert Hilburn says, These 3 songs were the most revealing of all. Unlike many white artists who watered down the gritty edges of original R&B versions of songs in the 50s, Presley reshaped them. He not only injected the tunes with his own vocal character, but also made guitar, not piano, the lead instrument in all 3 cases. So this really was like a sound that had not been heard before.
So he took R&B and instead of watering it down and making it like white folk music, he like ramped it up and made it like
rock and roll.
White rock and roll music.
Instead of what had been commonly accepted as like adapted for the white palate, meaning watered down, just more accessible, something that like the parents would be okay with.
Right.
He took it the other way.
Jazzed it up.
He jazzed it up.
Jizzed it up, if you will.
It was everywhere. It went all over the place.
He cracked a blanket in half.
Don't bring a black light around this album.
Do not.
The album was the first rock and roll album to top the Billboard charts. Or chart. I guess there was only one chart at the time. Clearly, the world was not ready for Elvis Aaron Presley. Later in 1956...
The white world certainly wasn't.
Right. He began a 2-week Vegas residency that was quite poorly received by the middle-aged conservative hotel guests. According to one critic, it was, quote, like a jug of corn liquor at a champagne party.
I want that written on my tombstone.
It's your epitaph. You are the jug of corn liquor.
That's me. I'm a jug of corn liquor at a champagne party.
You have a gutter palate.
Yep.
Yeah. At this time, he decided that he also wanted to become an actor, so he, being a fucking moron, signed a 7-year contract with Paramount Pictures.
Oh, jeez.
No.
Who is your lawyer? Julian, get in touch with Elvis.
God. If only he had Julian at the time. After Vegas, Elvis toured the Midwest, like a fucking grueling tour, like one show every day for like over 2 weeks, which we know.
We would
not
disintegrate into actual dust and fly away into the air.
We very nearly did last summer.
Yep.
So during this time, he decided that he really liked to close his shows with a cover of Big Mama Thornton's Hound Dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that song is also a cover. Oh, most of his songs were like covered. Like he didn't write his own song. After a show in La Crosse, Wisconsin, this is so great. An urgent message on the letterhead of the local Catholic diocese newspaper was sent to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh, yes.
Could you get any more pearl clutching
Oh, listen.
than that sentence?
Listen.
It's so good.
It warned that, quote, Presley is a definite danger to the security of the United States. His actions and motions were such as to rouse the sexual passions of teenaged youth. After the show, more than 1,000 teenagers tried to gang into Presley's room at the auditorium. Indications of the harm Presley did just in La Crosse were the 2 high school girls whose abdomen and thigh had Presley's autograph.
Oh, my God.
I mean, we signed tits and ass on our tour, and we're
I
a
signed
podcast.
For
a
sure.
lot of butts.
Also, you can suck it, Catholic diocese. You were like definitely diddling little boys at this point anyway.
yeah.
So how
Yeah.
dare you?
Their main objection was how old the girls were.
Exactly.
That they were girls.
Sorry, that was horrible. That was a horrible joke, and I'm sorry.
Okay. This is from Wikipedia. The famous Milton Berle show appearance came on June 5th at NBC's Hollywood studio amid another hectic tour. Berle persuaded Presley to leave his guitar backstage, advising, "Let him see you, son."
Let them see that sock shoved down your pants, son.
We'll get to it. During the performance, Presley abruptly halted an up-tempo rendition of Hound Dog with a wave of his arm and launched into a slow, grinding version accentuated with energetic, exaggerated body movements.
Yes.
I'm kind of turned on by Lucy's academic description of Elvis's dancing.
This is, again, lifted from Wikipedia. This was a crowdsourced description.
Well, I'm into it.
Presley's gyrations created a storm of controversy. Television critics were outraged. Jack Gould of the New York Times wrote, quote, Mr. Presley has no discernible singing ability. His phrasing, if it can be called that, consists of the stereotyped variations that go with a beginner's aria in a bathtub. His one specialty is an accented movement of the body, primarily identified with the repertoire of the blonde bombshells of the burlesque runway.
Yeah. He's not wrong. Everybody loves some gyrating hips.
Yeah,
male, female,
and
or anything in between.
What's your point, Mr. Gould?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it. We like it.
We love it.
Yeah. Ben Gross of the New York Daily News opined that popular music, quote, has reached its lowest depths in the grunt and groin antics of one Elvis Presley.
Oh, just wait, New York Daily News.
I feel like this is the decades before us version of, who is it, Ben Shapiro, like criticizing the wet ass P word song.
Oh my God. The WAP or WAP, whatever.
The WAP backlash.
Let's go with
Oh.
WAP. The
WAP.
WAP-lash.
So
yeah,
stupid.
the WAP-lash is
Wap-lash.
fucking hysterical, and I love it, and I'm so here for it.
Yep.
It's like these people have never heard songs before.
Well, certainly not
Music.
songs sung by like powerful women of color taking
Yeah.
control of their bodily autonomy. That's
Right.
for goddamn sure.
But like, albeit
did you
rare,
not listen
still
to-
not the first time that's happened either. It's like,
Too
where
Close
have you
by
been?
Next is literally a 90s R&B song about a
Yeah.
guy getting a boner in a club and like poking his dance
Step
partner with
back,
it.
get dancing kinda
Kinda
close.
close.
That played on the radio, on my shower radio as I got ready for like ninth grade every morning, and I sang it in the shower with no idea what I was talking about.
I had no idea what any of it was.
Yep.
Peaches and cream.
Oh, gonna take it to the
Fantasy.
candy shop.
Fantasy. God.
You couldn't sit in the back row of the school bus if you didn't know every single syllable and grunt in fantasy.
Oh, I could have sat in the back.
Oh yeah.
You were like quizzed. I quizzed people before I let them sit.
There it is.
You're
The
such
fantasy
a
gatekeeper of the
dictator.
school bus.
A little bit.
Kenyon Lang.
Next.
Okay. Elvis, who rotates his pelvis, gave an exhibition that was suggestive and vulgar, tinged with the kind of animalism that should be confined to dives and bordellos. Ed Sullivan, whose own variety show was the nation's most popular, declared him, quote, unfit for family viewing.
Ish.
Spoke too soon, Mr. Sullivan.
Yup.
To Presley's displeasure, he soon found himself being referred to as Elvis the Pelvis,
Yes.
which he called, quote, one of the most childish expressions I ever heard coming from an adult.
So he probably wouldn't like that I named my Elvis bust Pelvis Mesley.
Pelvis Mesley.
Because it's like disfigured and melting, and yes, I will include pictures for the blog. I have Velvis and pelvis.
He also, I mean, yeah, he's a man, a white man who's being, sexually objectified, and it probably doesn't feel great.
It was great to me. All right. Ed Sullivan clearly went back on his word and decided he wanted some of this action. So he booked Elvis on his own show as well. But according to legend, the broadcast was only shot from the waist up. Watching clips of previous broadcasts with his producer, like before Elvis's date to be on his show, Sullivan had opined that Presley, quote, got some kind of device hanging down below the crotch of his pants. So when he moves, so when he moves his legs back and forth, you can see the outline of his cock. I think it's a Coke bottle. We just can't have this on a Sunday night. This is a family show.
Maybe it's just his big cock.
It might just be his dick.
It really might just be his
There's
dick.
no way to know.
Sullivan publicly told TV Guide, quote, as for his gyrations, the whole thing can be controlled with camera shots. So, in fact, Presley was shown head to toe in the first and second show. There were two shows. Though the camera work was relatively discreet during his debut with leg-concealing close-ups when he danced, the studio audience reacted in customary style, screaming. So most of
losing, like fainting and losing their shit.
So as soon as he started the gyrating, that's when
they would zoom in.
But that's when the screaming started. Presley's performance of his forthcoming single, the ballad "Love Me Tender."
Love me chicken tenders.
Yum. I had chicken tenders for dinner last night. Prompted a record-shattering million advance orders. More than any other single event, it was this first appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show that made Presley a national celebrity of barely precedented proportions.
Wow.
Damn.
So that backfired, Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, suck it, Sullivan.
I've got the fan picker case. So here we go. It's definitely names that you have heard of. Unless you were born under a rock. Okay. Lou Pearlman was born and raised in Flushing, Queens. He was
the nanny.
Yeah. He was the only child of a middle-class Jewish couple, Hi and Renee Pearlman. Hi ran a dry cleaning business, and Renee worked in a school lunchroom.
I love it.
So just like a pretty normal childhood.
Normcore.
Except Lou's first cousin, who was 13 years older than him, was Art Garfunkel.
Okay.
The bad one.
Apparently the dickhead of Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, no.
But Lou was inspired by this example of his rich and famous cousin, which I cannot say for my cousins. They definitely are not inspired by me. But
are we rich and or famous?
No.
Then
that's why I'm saying it.
We would need to inspire in order for them to be inspired.
I know. Zach just always makes fun of me because I try so hard to be liked by my little cousins, and they're just
Follow your dreams.
Not interested.
Incredible.
Stop trying to be a role model.
Yeah. Stop.
Seriously.
Anyway, young Lou dreamed of entering the music business and making a name for himself. But there was one snag. He didn't actually have any musical talent. So
that's a hurdle.
Instead, he decided managing bands would be his best bet.
Smart.
While still in high school, Lou began managing a local band, but when he realized how difficult the job was and how nearly impossible it was to make a band famous from scratch, he decided
to watch Making the Band.
Right, which
as we know.
He would later create.
All right.
All right. Basically, he just was like, this isn't working. So he decided to go in an entirely different direction, put the band managing dreams on hold for a while.
In one direction, if you will. He enrolled in Queens College to study business, where he came up with a totally unrelated idea. A helicopter taxi service for New York City.
That's a thing now.
Mm-hmm. But this was the late 1970s, so it was not a thing.
Super not a thing.
I want that.
Pearlman was able to acquire a helicopter and actually did launch the business, but it never really took off. Although it did evolve into a company called Airship Enterprises Limited, which did actually make Lou quite a lot of money. So he was an entrepreneur. First couple ideas didn't work, but then finally something did. This business consisted of buying blimps and leasing them to large companies for advertising purposes.
What?
So he was a blimp king.
Oh, God.
Well, I hope that was his vanity plate.
Mm-hmm. To get off the ground.
You need to stop. Pepper monkeys. Hi.
Let's see Pepper's face. Oh, she's so beautiful.
Hi, beautiful queen. I love you.
Josie basically doesn't come up to the third floor of the house because she's too lazy.
I feel that.
You're climbing on my keyboard. Figure it out. There she goes. Okay.
Okay, so Lou Pearlman buying blimps. He then leases these to large companies for advertising. To get off the ground, Lou lied about how much capital he had.
Inhaled a bunch of
I like that you
helium.
had to repeat that joke so we'd laugh at it again.
I forgot I'd already
Here,
read that sentence, but we're going to go on. He lied about how much capital he had in order to persuade wealthy investors to fund his business, which is a crime. But it worked. So he was able to raise enough to purchase his first blimp, which he then leased to McDonald's for advertising. So things are working. He then relocated the business to the best city in the world, Orlando.
Oh.
And
He landed on Orlando.
and took on other major advertisers like MetLife and SeaWorld, which is the only company more exploitative of its talent than Lou Pearlman.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That was a SeaWorld and a Lou Pearlman burn.
Nailed it.
I heard it. I liked it.
From the beginning, the company was suspected of a range of financial shadiness, from possible insurance fraud to pump and dump stock market schemes after Pearlman took the company public. So he's just financially running cons, running schemes, always doing something. Ultimately, Airship Enterprises crashed and burned.
Is your whole case full of these
Just
horrible
blimp puns.
The blimp.
This isn't blimp
Hashtag
crimes.
blimp puns.
Although we
blimp
should do a
puns.
blimp crimes episode.
Oh, yeah. Writing that down.
After the holidays, if you know what I mean.
No. I
I actually don't know what you mean.
the
What do
food.
you mean?
Oh,
Okay. All the food. You feel like a blimp after the holidays.
true.
I don't know.
Oh,
That's
sure.
true. Very
Okay,
gaseous.
that's true.
That's a dairy.
Okay, so Airship Enterprises crashed and burned both metaphorically and literally. The company had to shutter after 3 of its blimps crashed in close succession to one another.
Oh my God.
And the company's stock price plunged from $6 a share to 3 cents a share. So
That's rough.
maybe don't invest all your money in blimps.
Blimps.
I can't pay my mortgage right now. All my money's tied up in blimps.
Tied up.
All my assets are tied up in blimps.
I prefer to call them zeppelins.
You know, these investments are a little up in the air, but I'm gonna put my faith in.
He was just full of hot air.
He was.
Oh, he's full of hot
It
air.
was full of hot air. Still, thanks to capitalism, despite the business totally sucking, it left Lou a rich man. So,
So he really could have floated that company as long as he wanted.
it left him hanging.
Oh, good.
And
Too funny.
And actually, the company falling apart when it did really was perfect timing for Lou, because he'd started to lose interest in blimps after all and was ready to move on to the next thing.
He was a little deflated after that went down. His ego got a little.
His ego ballooned out of control.
The wind went out of his sails. Deflated. That was a good one.
Oh, it's so
We got to handle
stupid.
the pun train.
I'm here, all aboard the pun blimp. I'll only
pun
ride the
zeppelin.
pun blimp.
Do you
The
think,
pun zeppelin.
how much do you think it would be to rent a blimp for advertising purposes?
You know
today?
what?
Probably
They
depends
do
on
it
the
in
market.
LA all the time. The
I'd
Goodyear
rather
blimp.
rent a hot air balloon because then we
No,
could be up
because I
in
don't
it.
want to ride it. Nope.
I don't want to ride
Nope.
it. I get
Shut that
motion
down.
sick. My friend
that by
Kelly got
yourself.
really motion sick in a hot
I
air
am not
balloon
puking
once.
over the side of a basket of a hot air balloon, okay?
I've been
I'm not
up in
doing
one
it.
once. It's fun.
Well, then you've had your experience.
Yeah. She went up in one and
Probably
started
cheaper than a blimp.
started to feel ill, and also she had bought she'd bought a Groupon.
No.
Oh, no. A hot air Groupon?
Discountblimps.com.
And like something like, I don't know if she bought it thinking it was for 2 people, but then actually it was just for 1 person. So she was like, this is a great deal. But anyway, she had to go up in this hot air balloon alone.
Just one at a time on this romantic hot air balloon date.
And then there was a couple that was like definitely getting engaged. And her and the like balloon director.
The operator.
And she started to get really...
The aeronaut.
Yeah. The Lou Pearlman.
Oh,
and she started to get really ill. And then she asked him, she was like, has anybody ever thrown up on one of these things? And he was like, not in my 32 years of business.
God.
And then she just was like started retching.
So it was her, the aeronaut, and a couple getting engaged, and she threw up.
She couldn't help it.
Oh, that is the best story I have ever heard. I'm going to tell that story at cocktail parties in 20 years from now.
There you go. That's
at
Kelly.
Zoom Thanksgiving.
You both met Kelly. You know Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, we know Kelly.
Kelly, I salute
Blelly.
you. That's amazing.
Well done.
Okay. So,
did she
my
say
God.
yes?
I think the couple still got engaged, but yeah,
Good.
I mean,
that story is the foundation of their marriage. They're going to tell that to their grandkids, so you did them a favor.
right.
I'm obsessed with that story.
My favorite part is the operator being like, not in my 32 years.
Uh-huh. Well, that's
and she
about
tries
change.
to keep the vomit and it just like dribbles out. Like Nicole at that fancy party in China.
Oh, God.
Okay.
We were at a dinner party with like some rich investor people. Didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. So Nicole and I were just drunk in the corner at this big table. And thank God she's wearing red because she's drinking red wine. I look over and she just went, and
Just puked like at the
Puked.
table.
on down her front at the table. And I was like, take this crimson napkin and just tuck it into the top of your dress. It was so fast and it was like real casual. It was really
I was
odd.
sitting at the table and did not know until
She didn't even
after.
notice.
Yeah.
Anyway, some
okay.
of us are talented barfers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, Lou and blimps. Okay, company falling apart, but it's great timing because he's sick of blimps. He had recently become fascinated by the success of New Kids on the Block and began to regain interest in his original career dreams of managing pop music bands. He started his own record company because he had all this blimp money, Transcontinental Records,
Blimp money.
with the
It's so stupid.
I know, with the
I
intention.
take my blimp dollars and
And
start
go.
a
My
record
blimp money
company.
and walk. I am walking.
I am floating.
With the intention of using New Kids on the Block as a blueprint for Blimp for cultivating a variety of nearly identical boy bands. And it turned out that Perlman was right, that boy band success could easily be replicated.
Formulaic.
Yeah.
When you're right, you're right.
In 1992, Perlman conducted an Orlando-wide talent search
Oh, wow. The pool is deep.
with auditions held
Swamp is deep.
Swamp pool.
held in his living room and his local Blimp hangar.
That is so sketch. I cannot.
That was now empty,
Yeah.
but for one black leather love seat
Yeah. Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
home video camera propped
on a
right in front.
tripod.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine?
You walk in, mothers are like, nope, ushering their children away.
Nope.
Nope, this was a bad idea. Nope.
Kenyon, didn't you audition for a movie with Whitney Houston?
I definitely went to one of those sketchy, just trying to take money
wide
from you.
net
Like a
casting
giant
call.
casting call.
Yeah, totally. Went to one of those things. And in my head, I was like, okay, my name is super odd and bizarre. And all the famous people I know have really super weird names.
So I'm a shoo-in.
So yeah, literally in my head, I was like, so this is a done deal.
Yeah. You may as well withdraw me from kindergarten, Mom, because
I can't.
I'm not going back.
It was 4th grade. I have vivid memories of
Yeah.
this because I was supposed to go with you, and my mom got the day wrong, and I was kind of upset that I missed it.
Well,
Yeah,
all it was
that's a
sitting
mess.
in like an auditorium on like little shitty hotel chairs and then being like, and first you buy $300 photographs.
Cutco knives.
Then you pay
Headshots.
$75 for this training. Then, yeah, that's all it was. Anyway,
Okay. I'd take the black leather couch with the tripod over that, honestly.
And the
At
Blimp
least there might be a
hanger.
job at the other end of that couch.
At least some cash.
Yeah.
well, not much cash, and we will get to it.
Oh, geez.
So he chose 5 unknown performers who he collectively renamed the Backstreet Boys. Some of them had already been performing together. We're not going to get into all the details.
Yeah.
Backstreet.
What they were before they were the Backstreet Boys does not matter.
Right, right,
Could not care less.
right. Backstreet Market was a teen hangout spot in Orlando, so that's where he got the name.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a youth hangout building.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Weird.
So the band played their first show at, you guessed it, SeaWorld
Oh, Lord.
in 1993.
The dolphins revolted. Blood was shed.
The pools ran with blood.
Runneth with blood.
And chlorine.
We'll never leap again.
And within a year, they signed a deal with Jive Records.
Oh, yeah. My guys signed a deal with Jive Records, too.
After a
Why
couple,
wouldn't they sign with his own record company, Transcontinental?
they were already owned by Transcontinental, but then Jive was actually in the music business, whereas Transcontinental was just Lou Pearlman and a Blimp hanger.
Oh, so they were more of like, Transcontinental was more of like a representation.
Right.
Okay.
Right. After a couple of false starts early on, which I didn't know about, such as their first single that received no radio play in the US.
What? They had anything before?
They had a song before Quit Playing Games. It was called I'll
What?
Never Break Your Heart. Yeah.
That's the song they had?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I knew that song.
Oh, well, it did not do well.
Weird. But I don't think I knew about it until after I got into the Backstreet Boys. And then I was like, oh, this exists? Okay. This
Well,
is
they
tracking.
formed in, late 1992, early 1993. They didn't really make it big in the US until like 1997.
True.
They first became successful actually in Europe and then later back home in the US.
Okay.
And the Backstreet Boys even surpassed the success of Pearlman's original inspiration, New Kids on the Block, becoming the best-selling boy band of all time, like Lucy said.
Yeah.
Huh.
100 million records.
Get it.
Pearlman then followed the exact same formula and created NSYNC, another massive success and a supposed rival to the Backstreet Boys, although they were both like the brainchilds of the same man.
All the money's going into the same pot.
Yeah. Yeah. In addition to being in the right place at the right time to take advantage of the boy band craze, Pearlman also seemed to have a natural talent for getting people to do what he wanted. He was very con man-y manipulative. According to a Vanity Fair profile, Lou was, quote, a big talker and a better listener. He drew people into his world by deducing their dreams and promising to deliver them. But
Dangerous game. We're getting into some Fire Festival territory here.
But his soft edges cloaked an unyielding will and the purring persuasions of a televangelist.
Ick.
Oh, I do not like how this was written.
Isn't that really gross? But also
Yeah.
Really gross.
really evokes Lou Pearlman.
Really
Yeah.
spot on. That's why it's so gross.
Yeah. Yeah. He continued cultivating bands and artists. None were as massively successful as Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, but they all sold records. Within a decade, the Transcontinental label was also managing the boy bands O-Town, LFO, Take Five, and Natural,
Bull.
as well as a girl group called Innocence.
You know, in a sense, that rings a bell. But in an entirely different sense, I've never heard of it.
No. But Innocence had one bright star. Briefly had Britney Spears as an early member before she went solo.
Hashtag free Britney, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. Lou also managed several boy band adjacent solo artists such as Aaron Carter and Jordan Knight, which we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Transcontinental Records built and began operating out of a massive entertainment complex in Orlando that included dance studios and recording studios on site. Perlman styled himself as the jovial father figure to his artists, and he liked it when they called him Big Papa.
Oh!
This is gross.
Yeah, it is.
Predatory.
This is getting into...
It's sexual.
This is getting into territory that I do not like at all.
Yeah. Did you guys not know this about him?
I did.
I've never paid attention to this person.
Yeah.
I knew that he was fucking gross and he fucked over everybody who's ever worked for him, but I didn't really know the details.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's a lot more details.
Great.
So, according to O-Town member Ashley Parker Angel,
Ever heard of him? Ever cried over him?
Sweet eight. Yes.
after your hysterectomy,
Ever cried over him.
he's homesick. He just wants to go home.
He's not here to make friends.
He's not here to make friends.
So his quote about the experience was, quote, "It was like Peter Pan and the Lost Boys." So he like isolated all of them.
Oh.
Ew.
Most of
he
these
was their Pied Piper.
Yeah, they're all like teens or early 20s, impressionable.
Meow.
Yeah.
Most of these bands spent years entirely dependent on Lou. From the time that he selected them until they began selling records, Lou paid for all their food, clothing, housing, and transportation, and they basically weren't paid at all. They were paid like a per diem.
What?
Ew.
That kind of control.
So they were
I mean, I get that they're
making
underage,
the band.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, but a lot of them were over 18, though.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
Still, that's so creepy to me. That
In
level of control
2002
freaks me out.
Yeah. Oh, there's more. In 2002, Perlman published a book titled Bands, Brands, and Billions: My Top 10 Rules for Making Any Business Go Platinum.
Planes, blimps, and automobiles.
Brands, blimps, and billions.
And underage teens.
Oh.
Blimp Street Boys.
Backstreet Boys. I like Backstreet Blimps.
No. Blimp Street Boys is my
Ashley Parker Blimp.
Ashley Blimp Angel.
Blimp Town. N Blimp.
LF Blimp. Well, it's not even funny at them. Okay.
Destiny's Blimp. Making the blimp.
Pussycat Blimps.
So stupid. Okay. So, for those of you not watching the video, Amanda fully has her sweater over her face. She's hiding.
I've retreated into my sweater.
Okay. So, as it would later be revealed, one of the ways that Perlman was making his billions was by stealing from his artists.
Oh shit. It's not from the Blimps.
In the late 90s, the Blimp Street Boys filed a lawsuit against Perlman.
Wait.
Against
Boys
Goodyear.
Boys to Blimps.
Blimps to men.
Blimps to men.
Casey and Blimp.
My back hurts from laughing this hard.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh,
It's gonna be the longest
I can't
episode
believe we've
ever
kept
done.
any listeners. I swear to God. How?
Okay.
Holy shit.
So, in the late 90s, the Backstreet Boys filed a lawsuit against Perlman. After the excitement of their record deal and their massive fame had worn off a little bit, the band had begun to realize that they weren't actually making very much money. The band, collectively, had received only about $300,000 total.
No.
While Perlman was clearly making millions, tens of millions.
Yeah.
And 300,000 divided by the
Five.
five of them.
And they'd been
God.
working for 4 years.
That's not good. That wouldn't even cover their denim.
Backstreet Boy Brian Luttrell hired a lawyer to figure out what was going on, and they soon realized that under their contract, Perlman was being paid separately as both a manager and a producer, so he's already being paid twice. Then he was also receiving an equal cut of the band's income. Essentially, and quite laughably, he was referred to in the contract as the sixth member of the band.
Oh. That's just like some really sad, like wanting that proximity to fame and
Well, he
success.
just got
and
all
like
the money.
idolation that these boys got.
Yeah. Also, there are photos of him on the drive. I mean, he is just...
He's nasty.
He's like, is it Mad Max? One of the
I'm
Mad Max
sure.
movies where they're like in the desert and the like evil guy is in the like mountain and he's
he's just
like hoards all the
melted
water
and
and he has all the wives.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
He's not good. He's not
No.
good.
Yeah. So the Blimp
He
Street
loves
Boys
Blimp
sued
so much
Perlman
he's
for
starting to look like
misrepresent.
one.
Sued for misrepresentation and fraud, followed closely by NSYNC. Both bands had experienced the same treatment by Perlman. They had been personally selected to be a member of the next massively successful boy band, after which they became entirely reliant on Lou for all their needs, and they were paid, again, only a per diem stipend of $35 a day until the band hit it big, and then they would be given their share of the profits. So they were all like, okay, we just got to make it big. We just got to make it big. They're working like 16-hour days for years. They finally hit it big, and they're like, okay, all right, now it's gonna all pay off. And in a documentary about Perlman, NSYNC member JC Chazé recalls eagerly awaiting his first actual check after they became successful. Perlman took the band out to dinner at an expensive steakhouse in Beverly Hills, made a big deal about their check presentation. And so they're like expecting a lot of money. And instead, Chazé was shocked and devastated when he opened his envelope and found that the check barely eclipsed 4 figures.
Ooh.
So does that mean like $1,000 or like $9,000?
No, that means like,
Or like
less,
10 grand.
less than $100,000, like $100,000.
Four
4 figures would be like 1,000.
4 figures is $1,000.
Wait,
Yeah,
really?
because it's all of the
1,
slots,
0,
not
0,
the zeros. It's all the slots.
Oh. So, oh my God.
So it was
Even worse than I thought.
$9,999 or less.
Oh my God. That's even worse
Yeah.
than I thought. Damn.
Mhm.
His bandmate Lance Bass adds, quote, not to sound ungrateful, but when you compare it to how many hours we had put into this group for years, it didn't even touch minimum wage.
That's so fucked.
Justin Timberlake has described his years as a member of NSYNC under Perlman as being, and this is a very intense statement, as being, quote, financially raped by a Svengali.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't personally love the use of rape as a verb for not rape.
Yep.
But anyway, financially intensely exploited by a Svengali.
I had to Google what Svengali was.
Yeah,
It's like a magician.
like Rasputin.
A person who exercises a controlling or a mesmeric influence on another, especially for a sinister purpose.
Yeah.
It's a character in the novel Trilby.
Cool.
Cool.
So, the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC ultimately both cut ties with Perlman after messy legal battles that resulted in multi-billion-dollar settlements for the bands. NSYNC then had their most successful album yet immediately following their breakup with Perlman, No Strings Attached.
Yeah.
And the
that
hits
was it.
that fucking slapped. And the song Bye Bye Bye. They're both references to Perlman.
And
Oh.
just so you know, Celebrity was the 2001 NSYNC album.
Mm-hmm.
No Strings Attached was 2000. So it was right after that.
Okay. So Perlman was eventually sued by
did
pretty
Celebrity
much
have
every...
Dirty Pop on it?
I think so.
That's why I
The
didn't
first
know
song
or
was
care about it.
Celebrity, 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 Celebrity. If that's ringing a bell.
It's not.
Cool. If that's ringing a blimp. So, Perlman
Ring my bell.
was eventually
Ring-a-ling-a-ling.
sued by pretty much every band that he managed, but it turns out that he was engaging in activities even more criminal than scamming teen boys out of their fucking
good.
money with sketchy contracts. In 2006, after an investigation into some financial irregularities, the state of Florida discovered that alongside his music business, Perlman had been running a massive Ponzi scheme for the last 15 years.
Oh.
He had persuaded nearly 2,000 people, mostly elderly Florida retirees, including close friends and his own family members,
Great.
to invest over $300 million in transcontinental travel services and transcontinental
Blimps!
airlines. Mm-hmm. Companies that did not exist.
That's a lot more than 4 figures.
Oh.
Just saying.
He had essentially used the legitimacy that he had gained through his fame in the music business to pull off one of the largest Ponzi schemes in American history.
Wow.
Like, he's up there with fucking Madoff.
Dang.
His investors, seeing that Perlman was the man behind some of the most successful bands in the country, which was undeniable, like he was,
Yeah.
had no reason to suspect that he would be scamming them out of money because he already had plenty of, like, legitimate money.
Sure.
But he's Lou Pearlman. One investor who over the span of 15 years gave Perlman over $12 million explains that, quote, the company was always doing phenomenal. He kept saying it would all go public. And, you know, we were getting a decent return, so we were happy. And besides, we got to meet NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, look at the perks.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just trotting those boys out to investors.
To sell his Ponzi scheme. Where he
that's
was
sad.
he was already making a shit ton of money off the fucking boy band success, which was huge.
Wow.
But he was really making his money from this giant Ponzi scheme. Yeah. Greed, people.
Yeah.
He makes no blimps about it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Another investor recalls that, quote, Transcon Airlines existed only on paper, but it was always so believable. There was always a plane or helicopter or blimp. They don't say that. Whenever he
wish.
wanted. When we flew to LA on MGM Grand Air, Lou said that the jet was one of his, that he was like leasing to MGM. When he said he owned the plane, well, how could you tell he didn't?
Fair.
You know?
I guess.
When Perlman got word that the investigators were closing in on his crimes, he fled the country, and he was almost broke by this point because he was hemorrhaging money with, like, trying to pay enough investors so they don't realize it's a Ponzi scheme.
Because these scams aren't sustainable ever.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's like he wanted to keep proximity to this like fame and clout.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't get out while he should have if he wanted to like get
Yeah.
away with it. and like change your name and disappear, buddy. But he he got off on
But he was too famous. I mean, he can't. Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand the thinking because there's
how
no
people
exit
ever
strategy.
think this is going to work out.
Yeah.
It's greed. Greed is completely blinding.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's just so dumb from the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
So he managed to evade capture for nearly 6 months before being arrested in Indonesia after a German couple on vacation in Bali recognized him and informed authorities.
I know that melting
pretty
man.
cool.
I know that stress ball of a human being.
I know that human blimp.
Yeah, he doesn't really blend
Stop that
in.
blimp.
Perlman was brought back to the U.S. where he requested a phone and an internet connection in his holding cell.
Okay.
Not to communicate with his lawyers, but so that he could continue promoting bands from prison.
Give it up, dude.
Gotta work to pay those bills.
Perlman and his companies were
Respect
forced
the hustle,
into...
I guess.
He could be our next president. He's got a lot
Yeah.
in common with
I mean,
our
literally.
current president.
They're on the same track.
Mm-hmm. Perlman and his companies were forced into involuntary bankruptcy, and his assets and possessions were auctioned off, many of them on eBay, in order to pay restitution to his victims and to financial institutions that he defaulted on loans from. On May 21st, 2008, Perlman was sentenced to 25 years in prison on charges of conspiracy, money laundering, and making false statements during a bankruptcy proceeding.
Wow.
In 2016, following several years of health issues, Perlman died of cardiac arrest while incarcerated. He was 62 years old, which blows my mind that he wasn't 62 years old
In 1997.
Yeah, look at him.
Does it
Yeah.
blimp your mind?
It blimps.
It blimps my mind.
My mind is blowing up like a blimp.
Oh, this guy looks like an evil Mr. Toad.
Mm-hmm. In the years since Perlman's death, there have been numerous accusations that he was sexually inappropriate with the young members of the bands that he was cultivating and that he coerced artists into sexual favors in exchange for preferential treatment, which is
Surprise
rape.
me at all.
Yeah.
These accusations are a little bit complicated because many of the actual artists have denied them.
Sure.
They've said that he behaved inappropriately, but they have stopped short of accusing him or agreeing with
Of
allegations
any kind of like sexual contact or
Right.
harassment directly.
But that being said, a lot of the parents are really highly suspicious, and the rumors are so persistent and are so widespread.
Yeah.
That,
That
like-
it does make you wonder.
Where there's smoke, there's blimps.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, one, he was definitely inappropriate. And some of the rumors are, here's a quote. Quote, inappropriate behavior while they were young teens, including naked wrestling on beds at age 13, Perlman's full frontal nudity in front of kids, and showing them pornography.
Oh, dear.
These are rumors, but this is what I read. And, quote, basically this was an excuse for Lou to hang around with 5 good-looking boys. He was along for the ride. What he liked to do was take boys out to dinner.
To be seen with them.
Right.
This is all ego and...
Right.
Ugh.
So maybe he did stop short of actual sexual contact, but
Doesn't
Right.
matter.
doesn't matter. It was all in the ballpark. In an interview with Howard Stern, Rich Cronin of LFO, I don't know which one he is, but whatever.
See the guy with the teeth? I'm going back to those
I
photos.
don't know. Look him up.
The teeth. He looks like a badger.
Yeah.
It does.
He has an oddly shaped mouth. Stated that Perlman had, quote, wanted to bang everyone and that those who went along with what he wanted were, quote, looked after.
Okay.
Marilee Goodell, a woman who had 2 sons in the band Take 5, said in an interview about Perlman, quote, most of the stuff we learned about only after the group broke up. Lou played the game of trying to alienate the parents. Every
That's
time...
some R. Kelly shit.
Mm-hmm. Every time he dropped the boys off, it was, don't tell the parents anything. They pretty much had a pact with him and they kept it. Did Lou rape my boys? No, he didn't, but he put them and a lot of others in inappropriate situations. I know that. To me, the man is just a sexual predator.
So apparently, Rich Cronin is not that guy. Rich is like the main guy.
Yeah.
Cornrow
like
guy.
like the girls who wear Abercrombie guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy with the mouth is also dead.
What?
Both of them are dead.
What? 2 of the 3 LFO guys are dead?
I think so. LFO who is dead. Yeah. They're both dead.
Of what?
Oh, that's sad.
Devin Lima, the mouth, he died of cancer at 41, and who passed away? And Rich Cronin died in 2010.
Well, that seems premature. That's so sad.
Weird.
Last little bit. For many of the young artists who first found success through Perlman, his death seemed to provide a sense of closure. Lance Bass stated in an interview, quote, "You feel happy that no one else is going to be affected by him, and then you feel guilty because you feel that way. You loved him. You hated him. There are so many things that come up with Lou Pearlman." And then he added, "We can all start healing." So it really was like a fatherly, abusive,
that sounds
predatory.
a lot like gaslighting
That's abuse.
and a victim of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
What Lance said
Mm-hmm.
is kind of alarming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
So
like
yeah,
that.
Lou Pearlman, trifecta of creepiness and exploitation.
But obviously, we can't talk about groupie crimes without regaling ourselves with the tale of Sid and Nancy.
Oh, we are going to be bummed out.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to go that hard on it, but you know.
Okay.
It's arguably one of the most famous groupie crime stories of all time, and this was recommended by our fan picker. So I hope I do it justice, and also, wow,
Excuse me.
excuse me.
I gotta scream when I sneeze. It makes it so much better if you scream.
It hurts. Sometimes
I'm a
it hurts
screamer.
sometimes it hurts my throat
Good.
Oh,
to
yeah.
scream, sneeze.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scream it out, baby.
He was a boy. She was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious?
Oh my God.
Is it going to be a whole nother Avril episode?
I wish. No, I only gave you the one. He was born.
Yours was too good.
I was so good. That'll never
hit
be
'em
topped.
all.
He was born John Simon Ritchie in 1957 and raised in London. And you know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
Geography.
Oh,
We haven't had geography in a long time.
I haven't.
We haven't.
London is located south of Buntingford, east of Stoner, north of Slough Green,
Oh.
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green, and west of Foulness Island. Where I will be summering from here on out.
Foulness Island.
I get no cell
That's
phone
the single
service
bathroom stall.
in Foulness Island. Yeah, that's the only one that's open.
It's the guest room you have to go in to fart when you have company over.
Foulness.
You just
Oh,
hope
please
there are enough
excuse me.
walls
I'm
to
visiting
muffle.
Foulness Island. I am making a little placard for my bathroom door that reads Foulness Island.
Yes.
Okay, let me wrap this up so I can get to work.
I'm writing it down so we don't forget.
Thank you. He endured a tumultuous upbringing due to his mother's substance use disorder. He did not have a relationship with his father, and his mother's addiction left him to fend for himself often.
Oof.
As a
Great
teenager,
start.
I know, not the best. As a teenager, he would find community on London's famous King's Road, which had become a symbol for mod and counterculture in the 1960s and 70s. Sid found camaraderie in the form of leather jackets, spiked hair, combat boots, and cigs.
Sounds familiar.
Classic, yeah.
And heroin,
Sounds like high
which
school.
doesn't sound quite as
No,
familiar.
Not as familiar for me.
Nah.
No.
No, slightly. He established himself as a punk musician
only
playing drums for Susie and the Banshees and Flowers of Romance. And in 1977, he was approached by the Sex Pistols to replace their bass player Even though, fun fact, he didn't know how to play the bass, but he figured it out.
Yeah.
That's punk for you.
I mean,
they just liked his look, his
Yep.
vibe.
my
And he played the
husband plays
drums.
the bass, and I can't fucking hear the bass to save my fucking life on any
I know.
given song.
I would
It just
never be able to like
disappears.
listen to two people who both did play the bass and didn't play the bass and know which one played the bass.
I've played I've dated 2 bass players. One always wanted me to listen for the bass.
Oh, yeah.
The other didn't, and I'm dating the one who didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Listen for the bass, babe. No, but you don't hear it right.
No, I can't. My ears don't register whatever you're doing.
I don't
Babe,
know.
I think it's unplugged.
I don't love you anymore, you know? You're just like not into music enough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was a real line.
Oh, put it on a button and sell it, baby.
And here I am being like, I don't like music.
A bumper sticker.
I'm fine. Okay.
I don't love you anymore. You're not like into music enough.
Okay, you play for a cover band?
Part-time.
Part-time? I don't know
I was
how to
really-
respond.
It's not supportive, I guess. It's not supportive.
Just not supportive enough of his creative life.
Streams.
Well,
So
other people's creative life that he just copies on weekends sometimes.
appropriates. Okay, so on the other side of the world,
Am I wrong?
no,
Twist of the knife.
of the truth knife. On the other side of the world, Nancy Spungen
Oh, no.
was living in an upper middle class life in Philadelphia, and it's not working for her.
Yeah.
Her refusal to conform and bucking of authority, coupled with a possible diagnosis of schizophrenia at age 15, landed her in psychiatric care, after which she became a runaway at 17 and made her way to New York City to carve out her own life.
Was it a possible diagnosis or
We'll
that
get
was
to
a
it
diagnosis?
in what I am about to say right now. I'm not sure of the accuracy of that diagnosis, but it popped up in a couple of articles. It's very certain that she was struggling with her mental health, even if we aren't entirely sure what diagnosis is most
She might
appropriate.
have just been it's the 70s. Like
It's the
she might
70s.
have
She's 15. Like getting a
Yeah.
schizophrenia diagnosis at
Yeah.
15 is
not likely.
not super likely.
So it was probably just that she was like acting out,
Right.
and maybe having outbursts.
Mhm.
And
It could have been anything. It could have been anxiety. It could have been.
It could have been
fucking
all
anything.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
It could have been schizophrenia. I don't know, but I can't say with confidence
likely.
that that's what it was.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah. So she worked as an exotic dancer and fell in love with punk music and became well known as a groupie in punk circles. She made her way to London when she was 19 to follow her favorite band at the time, Dolls and the Heartbreakers.
Aw.
Little did she know that this trip would lead her straight into the arms of her Romeo, Sid Vicious, and a new dedication to the Sex Pistols.
And also a really good pet name for like a hamster.
Sid Vicious. That would be good. It also wasn't exactly love at first sight, which in another parallel to my previous dating days when my eyes first landed on the lead singer and then his wedding ring and then to the bass player.
Yeah.
Nancy initially went for Johnny Rotten. She was more of a lead singer gal, but he turned her down. Then her eyes fell upon Sid, the bass player, who also rejected her initially, but came around real quick. And the two officially started dating.
So when did he change his name, or was that just his stage name?
That was his stage name.
Yeah.
He like went by Sid Vicious pretty much, I think, as soon as he started like really hanging out on King's Road or whatever. And like getting into the culture. Their romance was a drug-fueled whirlwind, and they quickly moved in together. They both struggled with heroin addiction, and their wild behavior was absolute gold for the tabloid press. Nancy was affectionately named, quote, nauseating Nancy.
Oh, that's nice.
And despite both of them being physically and verbally abusive to each other, Nancy was really the only one brutally smeared in the press. No shack there. Their codependency and volatile behavior was disturbing from the get-go. This is a quote from biography.com. One onlooker captured the unique nature of their bond, describing how Spungen once instructed Vicious to push a fawning groupie down the stairs at a club, and he did without a second thought, recalled the witness.
Oh my God.
Cool.
He was a knight in rusty armor.
Ew.
End quote. And as the Sex Pistols became more famous, the drug use escalated because obviously they just had more access to it. The couple was causing a rift in the band, who weren't exactly a harmonious group of individuals in the first place, but they hated Nancy and wanted her gone. They hated
she was
her
in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yes, and they hated her, which is unfair because it took the both of them to engage in this behavior.
Right.
But what they really hated was the relationship and how
Right.
fucked up Sid was, and he could barely play and was just a mess to be in a band with.
Yeah,
and
he
then
was an addict.
yes,
You
And
know.
she was just, fueling
they were
it.
they were both psychologically in distress. They both suffered from substance use disorder, and they were having continuous volatile and violent outbursts. That would be a fucking nightmare to be around all the time. And nobody's
Yeah.
going to do shit about it because you're so deeply ingrained in the punk scene that's just part of it.
Right.
So who is sitting you down and going, hey, this is really dangerous and alarming behavior. We need to get you some help. Nobody's fucking doing that. He looks cool.
Yeah, I was going to
They're
say
all over the press.
to a certain point, that behavior is actually probably helping their popularity.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, people they were the couple that everyone loved to hate and were super jealous of. They were all over the fucking tabloids all the time in the 70s. So they hated Nancy so much that their band manager, Malcolm McLaren, even tried to have her kidnapped and put on a plane back to New York City.
My God.
Yeah, but the couple were so inseparable and also bonkers that they couldn't get an opportunity to snatch her up without Sid there to defend her. So that plan
There's
fell
nothing
apart.
funny about that, but it's funny.
It is funny. I mean,
Well, it's cartoonish.
it's so cartoonish.
It's such an outrageous plan that it's okay.
Absurd.
It's the reverse Home Alone.
Yes.
Just putting her on a plane. Get the fuck out of England.
Kevin! So when the band set boundaries and barred her from joining them on their US tour in 1978, Sid responded by lashing out violently at shows, even hitting an audience member over the head with his bass guitar in Dallas.
My God.
Which, a bass guitar is not
Heavy,
a fucking
it's heavy.
acoustic machine. That could have killed this person.
They're made
Thank
out of
God it didn't.
metal.
It would be like a shovel.
Yeah.
It's equivalent to a shovel.
It's
it's
very,
heavy.
very bad. But this tour would be the end of the Sex Pistols altogether with a disastrous show in San Francisco on January 14th, 1978. So they'd barely been on tour for 2 weeks, and this tour in the US was the end of the Sex Pistols because it was just too much.
Because of him.
Mostly because of him.
all of it. Yeah.
But I mean, I think that some groups do well traveling together and some just don't. And some just really don't. So this is from Rolling Stone. Quote, in America, what fucked it up was that they treated us like rock stars, says Sex Pistols guitarist Steve Jones in John Savage's book, England's Dreaming. They didn't know any different. They treat anyone who comes over the same way. So they were this little band that nobody
Right.
knew about in the US, but they come over and they play shows and everybody was treating them like they were fucking
They were stars.
David Bowie.
Giving them free drugs.
Yes. So he goes on to say at Winterland, which was
Winterland Ballroom
yeah.
in New
that's
Jersey?
No, there was a Winterland ballroom in San Francisco. This is where their last show is, but I'm sure there are multiples. So at Winterland I had a cold. Sid wasn't playing a single note and he wasn't even plugged in half the time. Which
And nobody fucking
he's the bass
realized
player,
it.
so nobody noticed. There we said it. Listen for the bass though. Just listen to the bass line. It's so
Listen
complex.
for it.
Oh, you're not listening right. So
It
me and
sounds
Paul
like
just
this.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it though? Do you hear it?
Just listen.
It's like a 3-note range.
Just listen.
And
It's really repetitive.
Anyway, okay.
Babe,
Babe.
listen.
Oh, God. I really miss him. So it says, me and Paul just wanted to play.
The one that got away.
I kept cutting out. Strings breaking left, right, and center. The sound was absolutely atrocious, and Johnny Rotten's voice started to give out. The band closed with a cover of the Stooges' No Fun, and near the end, Rotten melts down. Quote, "There's no fun in being alone," he says. "This is no fun. It is no fun at all." He's saying this on stage to the audience.
Oh, no.
When the song ends, he famously asks the crowd, quote, "Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?" And then drops the microphone and walks off stage.
I'm doing that at our next live show.
Our Portland show.
Oh, no.
oh, I scared the shit
If
out of
only
that
you
guy.
folks knew, you'll have to wait for our book for the behind the scenes.
The show itself was
Phenomenal.
Wonderful.
Beautiful audience, gorgeous
Phenomenal.
audience.
pizza.
Oh.
Pizza, loved it. Actually,
Donuts.
super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun show.
Fun.
Some of the staff,
Venue.
however, not so great.
We won't be back to that venue.
Yeah. Okay, so it says it was the last time the Sex Pistols would perform together until their reunion tour in 1996. So,
Didn't
like,
know that happened.
yeah. Bye-bye.
I mean,
What
who cares?
the hell?
So the
Some
band went
things
back
are
home
just over.
so bad. The band went back home to London, but Sid and Nancy made their way to New York City, holding up in the Chelsea Hotel under Sid's real name, John Simon Ritchie. Sid attempted a solo career, but it didn't take off. And the crushing rejection of trying
Hard to go solo as a
bass
punk
player.
bassist that can't play bass.
Yeah.
Real addicted to drugs.
I mean, he figured out how to play bass,
Right.
but
At the end of the day, it's still bass.
love it. The crushing rejection of trying to make it on his own, coupled with this toxic relationship, led to more drugs and a lot more intimate partner violence. One particular argument on and the night before, October 12th of 1978. So they'd like been on their own in New York City for only 9 months. And this would be their last argument. Sid awoke early that morning to find Nancy dead, like in a pool of her own blood on the bathroom floor of their Chelsea hotel room. She died from a knife wound to the abdomen that caused her to bleed out. The wound was consistent with a knife belonging to Sid, and he was soon arrested for her murder. According to his conflicting stories of that previous night's events, he admitted that the two had had an argument and that he stabbed her, but never intended to kill her. Then he changed his story shortly thereafter, saying she fell on the knife.
Oh,
Who has ever fallen on a knife?
And then he ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times.
yeah.
And changed the story again, so a third time, claiming he had no recollection of the evening in question, which honestly, like, that's the
previous
most
evening.
believable. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was pretty inebriated with drugs and alcohol at the time of his arrest, which rendered his recollection of events incredibly unreliable. So they couldn't like get a confession because he was like so fucked up that it wouldn't hold up in court, basically.
Right.
And the punk community had their theories surrounding Nancy's death, and I guess we would just not know until this thing goes to trial. So some argued that Nancy was killed in a robbery gone wrong, carried out by one of the many drug dealers who were coming in and out of the hotel room to sell them heroin. 2 dealers were confirmed to have entered and exited their room that night, and many believe that one of these dealers set Sid up to look like the murderer and took off with cash that was noticed missing from the hotel room.
I'm going to come in here and say that I knew almost nothing about this case, so I don't know the truth or how it ends. And also,
He did it.
okay.
I don't know, but it really seems like he did.
I mean, sounds.
Given their history.
This is plausible, though. This robbery thing is
This is
plausible.
actually like a fairly plausible alternate theory.
It
But
is.
I'm saying
With
that
the
as somebody that
missing
doesn't
money.
know.
Totally
the
plausible.
information.
No other evidence of a struggle or foul play was found, and the NYPD did not investigate this possibility. However, no other evidence of a struggle or foul play in the Chelsea hotel where they've just been holed up doing a
For
fuck
9
ton of
months.
heroin for 9
Right.
months.
Yeah, like how
the
could
place
you
was
even...
probably a wreck.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
what evidence?
Right.
It probably looked like a goddamn bomb went off.
Right.
Some reports also stated that though Sid owned the same knife that killed Nancy, this was not confirmed to be the murder weapon. It was like the same type of knife.
Okay.
But we don't know for sure because it's like the 70s.
Pre-luminol,
Right.
I guess.
If this was the murder weapon, it was just consistent with the wound.
Okay.
And really, all they can probably tell are like, it was or was not serrated. It was like 4 inches long or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not
They
as
can't take
precise as it
DNA
is
off of
today.
it. It's fucking 1977.
Yeah.
Like, they're not doing that shit. So these possibilities, like I said, would have to wait to be explored in court. Sid was beside himself in the wake of Nancy's death. While out on bail after his arrest, he attempted suicide by cutting himself with a broken light bulb. Ugh.
Ooh. Was
This
it more of a cry for help, or was it like the closest weapon at hand?
I think it was the closest weapon at hand because he was not well.
Right.
You know, like I think that were he given enough time and enough and a proper weapon, he likely would have been successful.
Yeah.
This event would result in a psychiatric hospitalization at Bellevue Hospital, where he made another attempt at completing suicide by trying to jump from a window. This attempt was stopped by hospital staff who pulled him inside as he yelled, "I want to be with my Nancy."
Oh.
In an interview he gave before his trial, he didn't exactly confirm or deny his involvement in her murder, but said that her young death was an inevitability that he'd always expected. Quote, Nancy always said she'd die before she was 21.
I mean, that's just like something people say.
Yeah, live
so
fast,
don't
die
use
young.
it as an
Evidence.
excuse.
Right. Or,
Yeah.
an excuse. Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones had provided a lawyer to represent Sid in court because he didn't have finances to afford it on his own. And that was like this quiet thing that like didn't come out in the press because like Mick Jagger didn't like
Advertise it.
Yeah.
That he was funding the defense of a possible murderer.
Yeah. And Sid was instructed to keep a low profile in anticipation of his first court appearance. But Sid was gonna do Sid. And on December 9th, 1978, he attended a punk rock show where he punched Todd Smith, brother of Patti Smith, who basically ruled the New York City punk scene at the time and was known as the punk poet laureate. Punched her brother right in the face. But like, it's at a punk show, but still, it's like, dude, you're about to go to trial for murder.
Yeah.
Like, lock it up.
I also feel like a lot of people get punched in the face at a punk show.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But a lot of those people were probably not out on bail awaiting trial for murder.
I'm
Right.
not saying it was smart.
Right. I've been punched
Keep a
in the
low
face at a rack show.
Nah, I'm gonna punch Patti Smith's
His
brother in
brother.
the face.
I've been
Bye.
punched in the back at a show before.
Who
It hurt
hasn't?
by a man.
Duh.
That's
I didn't-
horrible.
Well, it was our friend Puck's show.
Oh.
So like kind of screamo, really metally rock sort of. And
And a dude just punched you?
well, I didn't
Screamo,
realize there was
metally
like
rock.
a mosh pit right behind me.
You got pitted accidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hurt though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I went and stood in the back after that.
So
Lucy, I don't care for music.
I was supporting my friend who also happened to be a bass player in that band.
screamy. Yeah, but he's actually talented.
We need to stop hanging out with bass players.
I'm married to one.
I
Y'all have
know.
a problem.
I know, we do have a problem.
I'm good.
You're good.
I
got
stay
strong
far,
fingers.
I stay far away from musicians.
Yeah, our boys know they're picking.
Ew.
So, this assault would land him in Rikers for 55 days. He was released on February 1st, 1979, and placed in the custody of his former Sex Pistols manager, Malcolm McLaren. You know, the guy who later admitted to trying to kidnap Nancy.
Cool.
It's very dysfunctional.
What a family. The night of his release, Sid decided to celebrate his freedom with a night of drugs and alcohol after 55 days detoxing in Rikers.
Oh no.
Yep.
Oh,
And
no.
as members of the New York City punk scene came and went, Sid kept a steady stream of alcohol and heroin flowing through him and was pronounced dead as a result of heroin overdose on February 2nd. As the only solid suspect in Nancy's murder, his death halted the investigation and the case was dismissed without a posthumous conviction of Sid. So we don't officially know on any kind of record who is responsible for Nancy's death, though it's most likely
Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious. And frankly, the escalation of his behavior, his drug use, his depression.
Abuse.
After killing your partner who, yes, your relationship was highly, highly violent and volatile, like there can still be love there. It's not always healthy, but like imagine
the
killing
fact that
someone.
he felt that remorse,
Right. That's what I mean. I think
so intensely.
I think it fucked him up because he knew he did it. Mm-hmm. And then he just like was so horrified by what he'd done that he was trying to like drink and
escape
and shoot it away, basically. Yeah.
Or kill himself.
Well, right. Yeah. He literally did try to complete suicide twice, at least as far as we know in that time. So I don't know. All signs point to him, in my opinion. It's like usually the most likely thing is the most likely thing.
Yeah.
Although, like Kenyon said, that the theory of the like drug deal / robbery gone wrong,
That makes
totally
absolute
possible.
sense also.
Also very possible, and also he bears guilt for that if that is what happened, because he's the one. I mean, they're both addicts and users, but he was the one probably in charge of acquiring drugs. And
and there were some reports that like while Nancy did recreationally use drugs before she was with Sid, she hadn't started using heroin until Sid like introduced her to heroin. I don't know. I mean, there's like, we can pass blame around forever. I think he stabbed her in the stomach. That's just what I think.
I think that's number one most likely, and number two most likely drug deal gone wrong, and he would still bear responsibility for that, in my opinion.
Anyway, that's my case.
Well,
Thanks,
good
Blortney.
job. Thanks, Blortney boy. I was surprised. I just didn't. You know, you hear about Sid and Nancy, and you think you know what they're about. I kind of just pictured them as like
I want to watch
British
the movie
punk
now.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
I heard a reference to them in a song recently, and
You're my
didn't know
butterfly,
anything
sugar,
about him either.
baby.
And I Googled them. I looked at their Wikipedia page. So probably in the last 6 months, I've read up on what actually happened because I didn't know either. I just knew they were like a volatile punk couple.
Right.
I want,
Yeah,
and
that's all I
like
knew.
the photos of them are so fucking iconic. I put a bunch of them on the drive that'll be on the blog, but
It was from that song. You're my butterfly, sugar,
Sugar,
baby.
baby.
Yeah, exactly.
And you like Sid and Nancy.
Yeah.
So sexy, almost evil. Talking about butterflies in my head. I used to think that happy endings were only in the books I read. But you made me feel alive when I was almost dead. You feel that empty space with the love I used to chase. I was like,
Special
I'm trying to get
thanks
better
this
than
week
that.
to Courtney Roy.
So butterfly, here's a song.
And it's with a kiss and a thank you, miss.
Amanda's a who sang that butterfly song? Groupie.
Fuck.
It's from the Orange County soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly. The movie Orange County, which that is what I need to watch
Butterflies in my
again.
head. Okay, what is it?
Who sings that? Well, the second you say it, I'm
They
gonna,
they remixed it like 4 years ago, and I felt like a grandmother.
Crazy Town.
Crazy Town. Good
Somebody
God.
remixed it, and it the remix came on, and or they sampled it, and then it came on the radio, and I screamed, and then it wasn't that song. God
God bless.
You must have been so embarrassed.
Yeah.